safe. Hope everyone's well. Hope everyone's keeping busy or back to work if you can. Not done a lot on the micro recently because I don't have much money and all the things I want to do require currency, so just trying to do stuff that's going to pass the time, stuff that I can do myself. Currently refurbing my wellers because white's a bit meh and they're rusty, as you can see. The process is long because they're powder coated. I'll show you the progress. So I've got the basically I'm having these are powder coated, and I'm pretty sure it's the original powder coat when they were made. The back face is clean because I've had these repaired. With steel wheels, when they're buckled, they lathe down the back face, so the back of the face of the wheel, which is pretty mad. Bought them off of a lad for a decent price. I mean, they weren't cheap, but they weren't expensive. They were in decent condition. They had all right tyres on. I bought them, went and got them balanced, and they were ridiculously buckled. So I went on a journey to try and find how I could get them repaired. So about the wheels, it's a mad story. I contacted Weller and said that I need two of them were runnable, they were okay, and two of them were ridiculously out. They couldn't even balance them, there was no point. I contacted Weller and said basically I want to buy 2 new wheels in this size, and they got back to me. They were like, yeah sound, yeah we'll make them. I was like, cool. And they got back to me and they said they're going to be like £350 a wheel because they're custom, because they don't make them in this size anymore. And I was like, absolutely flipping not, mate, thank you very much. So after them saying yes we can do them and then saying no we can't because they're a custom wheel and charging me bare, I wrote a review on Facebook and I just said like it was false promise and they couldn't do what they said they could do. And then I had a message off of a man called Les Weller, who is the founder of Weller Wheels, completely out of the blue, and he messaged me saying that basically he sold part of the company a number of years ago, and he hadn't heard great things about what was going on, and he was very apologetic to my situation, even though he doesn't really run the company anymore. He got in contact with me and said, I'd like to help you out. I've got a couple of guys that can repair your wheels, because I was struggling to find anywhere that would repair steel wheels. I had to drive to Lichfield. I gave some old boys with big beards my wheels. 30 quid later, all 4 were straight. The guy was an absolute god. And he told me a little bit of the history of the wheel. Told me what the stamps mean on the wheel faces, what year they were made, and what press number and sizes and all that shite. So yeah, it's pretty mad story. Yeah, back to what I'm doing. I stripped one wheel already, sanded it down. I'll show you that in a sec. It took almost a whole tin this size of Nitromorse. Basically, this new Nitromorse is toss. They've changed the formula and it now doesn't have the chemical in that used to work really well. So if you're thinking of using Nitromorse just because of the name that it's better, it's now not better. It's just the same as a cheap one, because some law came in a few years ago which means that they couldn't put the chemical in the Nitromorse, and that chemical was the one that made it so ridiculously good. So now it's just pretty standard. I'm just using this cheapy super deck. It's got a super deck. and it seems to be doing the trick. I've been told to use clean film after I've used the paint stripper because it will stop it drying out and you can leave it for longer and it will work better. So I've been stripping it down. I've had to wire wheel this one because it's powder coat and these were coated in 1996, so it's not very easy to get off. I'm stripping them down, I'm sanding them down, primered, and then I'm going this colour here, which is a graphite grey. I'm just rattle canning them because I don't really have much money, and you never get a really good finish with steel wheels. And I think when people put, it's personal preference, but when people put a really glossy paint on a steel wheel, it just looks like you're trying a bit too hard because you never get a smoother finish as you do an alloy. I mean, there's a few bits here and here, but without damaging the wheel I couldn't get that off. I wire wheeled them and sanded them down, but I think it's a pretty cool colour. I'll get a picture of what it will look like on the car pretty soon. But a mate of mine came down, removed all 4 tyres for a tenner, which was pretty sick. But yeah, that's the colour they're going to be going. It's going to be flipping nice, mate. Also, if anyone wants any lights, I've got two distributors also. HT leads over here. I've got a few bits and bobs. It's got a spare fuel rail. If anyone needs that, hit me up, Home Dogs. Here's the old girl with an what is happening? Oh, it's VE day. Respect. But yeah, I've got a horrendous amount of bird shite car, but what I'm doing today is putting my JDM / Polish plate recess on. It looks like this. Imagine the tape's not there. I'm trying to get the seal to, there's a seal that goes around the edge and it's been off of a car for a very long time, so it was all distorted. But basically, lads, she sits in there like that on a UK spec boot. This recess is a little bit too big. I mean, this is meant for a March boot really, but as you can see, it's not going to be too bad. You're going to have a gap either side, but anyone will have that with a UK boot. All I'm going to do is run a bead of sealant round the edge to close the gap, and then I'm going to spray the sealant, so you shouldn't really see it, but it mounts like March. Well, there is March lights inside, as you can see, and they just mount through your boot, 2 nuts on the back. You have to mark up where your holes are going to be, obviously. I used a little bit of white chalk paint on the end of each of those, on the end of the studs, and then pushed it up against the car where I wanted it, and then it left some white marks where I needed to drill the holes. Nearly fell over. So also your bulb protrudes a little bit, so you need to drill a hole to accommodate the bulb to sit in, and I'd suggest running a bead of sealant around that once it's on as well. I need to polish this up. You can see where the old tailgate, the old number plate light holder thing, contraption thing was, but I just prefer that because you can run a 13x7 number plate in this, which is JDM size. On the front I run, well, I've got a UK spec one at the moment, but I usually run a 6x12, which is American import size. you can get away with such a small one on a micro because micros are the size of a shoe, so the number plate looks big on one of these cars. Yeah, so mark where, if you've got one, they're quite hard to get. You can get them on Jaws, you can get them from Japan. If you've got one and you're looking at doing this is what you've got to do. You've then got to make sure your wiring's long enough to reach the wiring that comes off the two bulbs in the holders. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and try and put this on. I've got a slightly better way for you to mark up your holes. Take the light out of the holder. I wish I'd have done this before. And then just mark your holes like that. I am probably going to be on fuming. Yeah, so I'm actually out a couple of mil. Top hole goes in, the bulb sits in, but that is just slightly off that hole, so I'm just gonna have to elongate that hole a little bit. Drill your holes, get your lights in, do it on both sides, and you can put your holder on.
You are now listening to a Theos exclusive. Cosmic.
So she's on. That's the amount of gap we've got left in the corner. Same on that side. That's just a bit of tape that I need to cut out. The original seal that goes around the recess is naffed, so I'm just going to silicone. In fact, I'm probably going to take that seal off and just silicone the gap and then paint the silicone. But that's how she looks. Looks alright, I think. Will look alright with the plate in. Hang on, let me get a plate and I'll just put one in. There you go. That's what it looks like with the plate in. Much JDM. Also, shout out Higher Level. Guy that owns that's a maniac, bro. But yeah, JDM recess. Then you just have to wire in your. I've definitely locked the keys in the boot. No, got. You have to take the wire in for your original number plate lights, which is these. Then plug them into your two bulbs that will sit in there. And there. That, don't look at that because that's not okay at the moment. I need to cut that out so I can get some silicone in there. But that's it, boys. That's it. That black seal here that went around it, it's too distorted to put on, so I took it off, and it sits almost flush to the boot now. lights working. And then I'm just going to run a small bead of sealant around all the way around and paint it, and she'll be good.